Welcome back everyone for the finale of this Ghost of Tsushima breakdown on why this game is perfect. Just like last time, if you haven't seen the first two parts, please check them out. Without further ado, please enjoy this game's finale. The one who's been with us our entire journey from the very beginning, our trusty steed, Nobu, is gone, but will never be forgotten. Died by our side, helping us in the very end. With a grave properly dug, Jin rises and begrudgingly keeps moving towards Kin to find Yuna. We see when we approach that the village and its sacred tree have all been burned to the ground, with no villagers left alive to be found. With limitations to our arsenal, we can't afford to confront the Mongols lingering in town. Finding a fallen tree and crossing it to the spot where we were supposed to meet Yuna, she obviously isn't here, but there are other bodies here with no visible weapon marks on them. There are more bodies outside of the tree with pungent blood spilling from their mouths. Their body smells of Jin's poison, Wolfsbane. Just as we put the pieces together that the Mongols figured out how to craft and distribute the poison, we're shot in the back by a poison arrow. We try to stumble away as hard as possible, but we succumb to the poison and we collapse on the bridge. Just as we start fading out, we hear a faint shout from Yuna coming to save us, at the last second. She thankfully nurses us back to health. Guess the Mongols didn't perfect the poison before applying it to the weapons. Suspecting the enemy had used the poison on the people of Kin, our final act will have us focus our efforts to face the Khan once and for all. Yuna knows his base of operations is at Port Izumi on the east coast of the Kamiagata region. But before we do anything, we need our own base of operations, and we need our gear, which Yuna has thankfully kept safely for us. When we're geared up, we regroup with Yuna and spot a temple in the distance we can use as a stronghold with our army. Since it's taken by Mongols, we need to prepare for battle, but first, we need a new ride to get to and fro easily. For now, we will be riding around on a simple stable horse. When we're close enough, we spot a fishing house near the temple with a handful of Mongols and tied up prisoners. There's also a signal cannon we can use to draw the temple Mongols toward us when we're done here. When the prisoners are free, we look out over the frozen lake and spot some explosives we could use against the Mongols. We follow through with using the signal cannon to alert the Mongols, and when they mistakenly run across the frozen lake, we ambush them with the bomb and kill the stragglers who manage to survive it. Heading to the main temple, we find a quieter way in with the frozen waterfall. We get the jump on the captain and save the temple from these monsters. Now that we have set up a safe haven for the people of Kamiagata, Jin starts to think about his actions back at Castle Shimura. He knows the path he chose and he can't go back. But the ghost has to use every unpredictable tactic he can to kill the Khan. We need to find a way to move our group into this region, and since Castle Shimura is a no-go, our options are limited. There is a fort on the west coast, but it's heavily guarded. We'd never take it by ourselves. Thankfully, Yuna knows of a group of hunters she used to hang with that reside in this region. We'll be able to use their leader and his men to get in while Yuna sneaks back to Omi village to meet our friends. We'll meet next when we bombard the fort. We do find Takashi, the leader of the hunters, and introduce ourselves to him. Before anything else, we tell him Yuna sent us. We fill him in on the details about our plan of attack, but Takashi can't just risk his men's lives for no good reason. In exchange, Jin offers to let him and his men be allowed to stay at the fort for survival. As long as it's a safe place to sleep, they're in. He takes us over to the cliff to plan our assault. Since the Mongols watch the gates day in and day out, along with going in and out of the place, we'll be going in a more hidden way. We can use our grapple to climb the cliffs around the fort. There's a rundown woodcutter's camp we'll meet Takashi at. Him and his men apparently took hours to get up, maybe 30 feet, but we make it look like it's child's play. Our strategy to take them out is to send most of the force to the ridge to snipe the enemy from above, while we sneak in. So Jin grabs a few soldiers and we hop over a few buildings before striking. We don't have time to sit around observing the atrocities these Mongols have done, and when we find a place to hide, we get the jump on the next group of Mongols that show up. We then spot a fire in the distance at the south gate. Our friends made it. We can't cross the bridge due to the enemy's Hwacha, and our only way through is Taka's hook. Thank the Buddha he left us with such an amazing and helpful tool. Now that we've cleared the way, we advance to our friends. On the way, Takashi realizes we're the ghost. Apparently there's a rumor floating around that we're supposed to be some kind of 10-foot tall demon. Don't know how that one started, but with the Force finally reunited, we get to speak with our group once again. Kenji immediately complains about the cold, which he'll have to get used to. Any supplies we find here will go back to the people at Jogaku Temple, and we have mission success. We confront Yuna about Takashi and his men, as we suspect they're more than hunters, but since they've proved themselves, we're allowing them to stay and hold the pass as long as they don't disappoint us in the future. Since we have all the people we need, our goal is to move back to Jogaku Temple and start our plan on how to attack the Khan. But before that, like I said in part 2, we'd go over the side quests, and there are much less of them this time, so don't worry. But before that, remember in Act 2 when I said there was a ghost weapon I'd talk about later? Well, here we are. Throughout the game, you'll find special side quests called Mythic Tales that will grant you with either new armor sets, abilities in combat, or in this case, a new ghost weapon. Each of these quests will open with a cinematic style very similar to old Japanese art styles you might find on scrolls or walls. Here, we'll unlock the ability to set our sword aflame mid-combat, like how the Mongols have been able to do, as you may have seen. Attacks with a flaming sword will go straight through shields and deal massive damage. We unlock this by going up a frozen mountain and dueling the man who protects a meteorite said to help set your weapons alight. Now then, since she only has one last quest in her line, we'll head straight to Masako, saying her prayers alone to her ancestors. She's made up her mind on what she's about to do to her sister. She was able to track down her final location to Clan Kikuchi's fort. With no more incense left to burn and no more prayers to make, we're ready to ride out. On the way, we actually start to piece together why her sister betrayed the clan. First, the reason she is at Fort Kikuchi is because she married a man named Ikeda, who was a retainer for the clan. Hana had dreamt of owning an estate of her own, and since Masako held the Adachi one, she had no choice but to be married off. This old Kikuchi estate, however, has a new clan there, with an emblem matching the one from the letter. When Masako and Hana were younger, bandits attacked their estate, and before the samurai came to rescue them, Masako had dealt with them all on her own. The samurai that arrived, Harunobu Adachi, saw what happened, and he fell in love with Masako. This is where Hana's hatred started, since she was jealous of what Masako had. To make it up to her, Masako arranged the marriage between Ikeda and Hana and sent her away. That's all we know so far, but we'll know everything else soon enough. In front of the fort are some guards who immediately attack us upon noticing Masako, but we're not in any mood to be lagging behind, and we enter the fort. There are plenty of peasants here that seem to be living in protection, unassociated with Lady Hana. Masako calls out for her and more samurai come out. Asking one of the peasants, she tells us Hana is further up the hill in the estate. Up here is where we finally confront Lady Hana, who taunts Masako over faking her own death. She makes a statement that assumes she was planning on killing Harunobu Adachi as well. Trying to rid herself of us again, she sicks her guards on us. Jin focuses on taking them out, but Masako ignores them and chases Hana inside. We follow behind her to watch their final conversation.
You murdered my children. My grandchildren. Destroyed my family.
A small price to pay for what you've done.
I have done nothing.
You stole everything. Drove me from our home. Took the life that was rightfully mine. Left me with that abusive drunk in this frozen land. You would have to suffer an eternity of pain to understand the life I've lived. The life you forced on me!
None of that is my fault.
It is! And damn you for acting as if it isn't! You've come to kill me, so finish this. It will be your only kindness!
I can't end your suffering. But you can.
Now, you have nothing! Ugh!
I never mourned my family. I've tried to honor them, meditate on treasured memories, but she consumes them. Even now, I have nothing left.
No. You've accomplished what you set out to do. You have honored your family, given them justice. Now you can find peace.
This path does not lead to peace.
Where does it lead?
I don't know. I have to continue walking it to find out.
I don't want you to go.
I must. But I will be there when you need me.
Vengeance didn't bring her anything but pain, even in the last moments she had with her sister, who cursed her in her final moments before stabbing herself. But this questline gives us a great lesson in that no matter how dire your need for revenge is, it will never make you feel whole again. At Jogoku Temple, we get to meet up with Ishikawa. His skill with the bow used to influence the people of Tsushima into thinking he'd become the world's next Tadayori, before he died, of course. Even with his failures of Tadayori Nagao and Tomoe, Jin still appreciates his efforts to teach him the proper way of the bow, which sets a perfect example that not every student of his was a failure. Ishikawa had never made time to make a family, but Tomoe was the closest he ever had to a daughter. When someone devotes their life to one specific thing, it could ruin their chances at everything else, which is exactly what Ishikawa feels with being a samurai. Tomoe is still out there, so our hunt must continue. She's somewhere in Kamiagata, so we split up in search of her. On one of the frozen mountains is a burnt-down Mongol convoy with Japanese arrows shot in their backs, likely done by Shimura's men. Before further examination, a woman named Matsu startles Jin, a feat not many can do. She asks if we were with the one who killed these Mongols, who happens to be Ishikawa. She claims to have run into him after he killed these Mongols, and she offered him a place to stay after he comes back from an urgent mission. Assuming he got Tomoe's tail, we request we wait at her home till he comes back. Before that, she needs to check her snares first for food, since a storm is coming quickly. The first snare isn't too far, but it's empty because Matsu thinks by not having any bait, she'd trick the animals into going in. But this tactic doesn't work on anything else other than people. The next is a bit further away, and during this, Matsu fills us in on her reasons for living in such harsh conditions. With both having no more family to turn to, and fleeing to colder conditions when the Mongols first landed ashore. Filling her in that we're Shimura's nephew, she puts the pieces together that we're the ghost. She also mentions that we're supposed to be a 10-foot tall demon. God, where did this rumor even start, man? She mentions we're too handsome to be a demon, and right when we approach the second snare, we spot some bandits taking the food. Since it's cold and Jin assumes they're starving, he talks to them and finds that they've been eating grass and bark for days. This is the one chance they have to eat real meat. Jin lets them go and Matsu is irritated. We sacrifice food for them, meaning we need to go and grab the final snare. It's the furthest away, and the blizzard is getting closer. We waste no time riding off, and while we ride, we're asked what it means to be the ghost. Jin regrets his decisions, but he knows what must be done for the island's safety. Thankfully, the last snare has some food in it for us to take, and no bandits for them to take from us. Before we depart, Matsu looks out over the ocean and tells us how she wishes to move to the mainland, where it's free of war. She wants to start her life over and live a life of luxury in the peaceful town of Kyoto. Make connections with all the citizens while her underlings steal their valuables. By now, the storm has arrived and we need to ride to Matsu's home, hoping to meet back up with Ishikawa here.
You seem too kind to be the ghost. But the way you killed those Mongols...
I do what I have to for Tsushima.
The truth is, we're both survivors. We have darkness in us. If we didn't, we'd be dead.
Sensei Ishikawa said something similar. But it sounds more natural coming from you, Tomoe.
Ishikawa always said, I underestimate my opponents.
I don't have an arrow in my back. Why not?
The Mongols turned against me.
After you trained them to slaughter our people.
A mistake I tried to fix. But I can't kill all my archers. Not alone.
You need me. And the sensei. But we don't need you.
I know where they'll attack next. We can ambush them together. You get a victory, I get revenge.
I'll talk it over with Sensei Ishikawa.
Jin, you can stay the night.
No, Tomoe. I can't.
We find Ishikawa at Jokaku and tell him about our run-in with Tomoe. He's confused as to why we didn't kill her, but since her archers are becoming too strong, we need to work with her to take them out once and for all. Since she didn't kill Jin when she had the chance, we have no reason not to believe her. Ishikawa can't trust her, but Jin doesn't trust her either. But the situation exceeds trust, and we have no choice but to team up for this Avengers-level threat. This is the only quest that directly asks you to return to a former region in the entire game, which gives this quest some uniqueness to it. Ishikawa is posted up at a burnt-down homestead, informing us that when we meet Tomoe, she'll tell us where we'll face the Mongols. She's held up not too far from Umugi Cove in a gambling den. Ishikawa tries to plan out a self-defense strategy before Tomoe immediately calls us in, exclaiming she has no need to kill us. In the den, Ishikawa and Tomoe talk to each other for the first time in months. Being sure of herself was one skill Ishikawa never had to teach her. With no more time to spare, she informs us that the Mongols will be attacking none other than Umugi Cove. The reason she needs our help is because the Khan had betrayed her. Ishikawa doubts her, but if we don't act, then we'll deal with the consequences of our non-actions. Just then, we hear the Mongols have found us, and we officially team up for battle. When they're dispatched, Ishikawa tries to find every reason to incriminate Tomoe, like ordering the Mongols to attack us in a smoke and mirror attempt. Jin can't take any more of their bickering, so he breaks it up and requests we focus our efforts on Umugi Cove. With tense air and a bitter taste in his mouth, Ishikawa cooperates and we leave. Now we finally learn why she turned in the first place. She killed innocent people to put them out of their misery because they were being tortured. We know we have to stay off the road on the way to further keep the citizens safe from harm. Cutting through the field of the equinox flower, she tells us that she told her men not to attack us when we were searching for her in Toyotama. This turned out to be a good thing, since if we hadn't, Tomoe would have been set up to make more camps for the Mongols. In the field are a few more Mongols that we have no trouble taking out. Tomoe then compliments our success similarly to how Ishikawa does it. Finding a place to hide, we spot a convoy hunting for Tomoe that she hadn't mentioned prior to our team up. We think it's a better idea to rest until nightfall, since the Mongols wouldn't attack at night, since they need time to position their archers. We get some shut-eye, and when we awaken, we officially make our move. Tomoe takes the lead so we can find the best way through. There's a few patrols ahead that we can take out for precaution. After these Mongols are taken out, Tomoe compliments Ishikawa's technique during combat, and Ishikawa does the same, learning about Tomoe's new style she executes. We now find the bulk of the Mongols will have to circle around to not alert them. Jin leads the way, and we are able to find a pathway to remain unseen by the Mongols. As we get further in, we see the archers are stanced up in front of the pathway into Amugi Cove. Tomoe sees some explosive barrels she plans to shoot with a flaming arrow. She knows it may put herself in danger, but she needs to repay the people of Tsushima in one way or another. She finds a place to shoot her arrow, and we get the jump on the Mongols. Once they're all gone, we regain our bearings. Then we notice that after combat, Tomoe is nowhere to be found. Ishikawa saw her near the pathway to Amugi a few moments before the battle ended. We try to assume the best and say she was trailing Mongols that headed that way in case Amugi Cove is still in danger. We run the path into Amugi, but during our chase, Jin realizes that there are smugglers in town that can aid in her advancements to sailing to Kyoto and leaving Tsushima for good.
Wait.
Sensei Ishikawa, we have judged each other harshly, but the Buddha tells us that our greatest enemies can be our best teachers.
I am grateful for your teaching, and for the chance to fight by your side a final time. I have been your student. I would have become your daughter. But the way of the bow is behind me now. What lies ahead? I am like an arrow, shot from a bow. Who knows where the wind will take me?
It's over.
Maybe she'll reach Kyoto after all.
If she were anyone else, I'd say that's impossible.
We still have a war to finish, a home to rebuild.
I have no more lessons to give in this life, except one. Promise me, you won't repeat my mistakes.
I promise, Sensei.
Ishikawa's questline, like I said, isn't my favorite, but the ending of the line still teaches us the meaning of trust and the trauma of dealing with failures that affect you your entire life. Lastly, and I mean at this time no fake outs, is Norio. Only we don't find him right here, but a monk preaching for the Mongol cause. He tells us it's for his own safety from the Mongols themselves, but that he prays Norio will put that torture to an end. He knows where we can talk to Norio and leads the way to his location. He's currently planning an attack on Cedar Temple with the warrior monks from Akashima, since the Mongols have taken it, and he fills us in on the game plan. Cedar Temple is our last-ditch effort for a beacon of hope for the citizens of Tsushima. And not just that, but those of us who take it back will also be remembered as respected warriors. We plan to ride at dawn with all our monks with us. We depart with a fire in our hearts and a passion to take back what's ours. On the way, we find the warrior monks from Kushi Temple as well, ready to join the fight. With no moments to waste, it's time to fight once and for all. Jin, Norio, and the rest of our force fight valiantly and win a victory for the temple. The last thing we need to do is make sure nothing else has been broken in the temple. There's a monk at the main hall who begs we don't enter and collapses on the floor. Jin and Norio, though, choose to investigate regardless.
Nothing damaged or stolen.
Norio.
Angel? When they took you out of the pit, I thought...
Mongols promised to spare you. if I told them everything?
I'm here, Enjo. It's all right now.
I told them about the abbot. Ochi, Kuchitsera, and Akashima.
It doesn't matter.
Norio, I held on to see you. But I can't live like this.
Yes, you can.
Please, brother. Breathe.
Lord Sakai, would you leave us?
Yes.
His name is Kharcho, the one who burned my brother and cut off his limbs.
This Haricho is among the dead.
Not yet.
Norio, your brother was the Guardian. He died a hero.
No, he didn't. I can find out where this Mongol coward is. But then I'll need your help.
You'll have it.
When the snow lets up, we'll hold the funeral.
The very man who had inspired Norio his entire life was tortured and treated worse than garbage. Kharchu will taste the same pain Enjo felt, but not until we meet back up with Norio. We ask a nearby monk for his location and learn he left to deliver Enjo's remains to a cemetery. Now we can charge into the finale of my favorite quest line. We find our horse and ride off to meet him mourning the loss of his brother. Norio has found the location of Kharchu, whom is at a fort on the coast. Jin sees the path Norio is heading down and urges him to remain a beacon of hope for the warrior monks. But Norio is tunnel visioned. Since we can't influence him any other way, we agree to come and help him. We first need to find a place to rest until nightfall for an ambush. The camp we need to stay at, however, has a few hungry bandits who flee as soon as we get there. Norio attempts to chase them down, but we keep him at bay, explaining that they weren't a threat, even if they were thieves. Once night hits and we can get some rest, Norio quotes the prayer that was carved into his naginata by Enjo. Enjo had a will stronger than any other. So strong, he was able to endure so much pain for so long, just so he could see his brother one last time. Norio tells us Enjo's last words that Jin never heard, saying, "I was wrong." But since Enjo was gone, we may never know what he meant by that. But he ensures that Harchu will not be so lucky as to have any final words, recommending we get some much needed rest. We save our strength for when we fight Harchu and turn over for the night. In the middle of the night though, we wake up and realize Norio is gone, only to ride up to the fort to see it in flames. As we approach, a monk at the entrance tells us that Norio had gone in by himself, in an enraged stupor so bad that it frightened the monks. The further we go in, the more atrocities we find, between howls of pain and Mongols running away in flames. And we catch up to Norio just as he's burning Kharchu alive.
You once told me you would never swing your naginata in hatred.
I did what the ghost would do. And now Harsho is gone. I'm not going back to Cedar Temple. Not after this.
Where will you go?
It doesn't matter. He was still alive when I lit the wood. When he screamed, it filled me with joy. And I would do it again. I'm no longer a monk.
You don't get to give up. We all have regrets and broken promises. But this island needs you. The last warrior monk of Cedar Temple.
I can't go back to what I was before this.
I'm not asking you to go back. I'm asking you to keep your faith and move forward.
Thank you, Jin.
I'll see you at Cedar Temple.
Our last quest line is another of tragedy and revenge. One that teaches us the importance of never letting hatred cloud your mind in search for an advancement in your endeavors. But, like I said, that's all for the side quests. Each hold such amazing writing and character development that I would never want to miss out on doing them when I replay this masterpiece. These aren't just side quest lines. They're stories that you watch unfold right in front of you. They're experiences that you could never replicate or feel again. But we have a story of our own to wrap up. Off to Yuna we go. Our force is ready to attack whenever we are, but first, we actually need a plan to get in with as little resistance as possible. In order to find a weakness and strategize, we wait until night and scout ahead at the port. At Port Izumi, there happens to be a lighthouse we can use to get a good view of the place. The Khan plans to use this port to sail to the mainland, which is something we cannot allow to happen. Around this spot, we also spot the poison that Jin uses, which shows where the Mongols are producing them from. We find a way to sneak around the back and get into the lighthouse and see an entire barrel's worth of poisonous flowers inside. With as much poison as they have, it'll be more than enough to wipe out the island. And worse, all of Japan itself. At the top of the lighthouse, we spot strange occurrences in the waves. A storm is coming, which means even if the Mongols wanted to leave now, they couldn't because the waters would be too rough. We plan to use that to our advantage. There's a spot we could mount a few watches and a village we could set an ambush at. Then, at the end of the port is the harbor master's estate, likely where the Khan is posted up. He has all the weapons he needs to attack the mainland. Explosives, poison, and as many soldiers as he needs. But with our ambush strategy and the storm at our side, we have the perfect opportunity to strike when we have all the supplies we need. Our friend will make a distraction while Jin sneaks in and confronts the Khan. We leave back to Jogaku to tell the others. Thankfully, Kenji was able to get info on where we can get a few watches. The only thing we need is more numbers on our side. We only have one option left, and Yuna thinks it's suicide if we even try to get Shimura to help us. Even though we don't see eye to eye, the both of us do have an overarching goal to kill the Khan. Jin is willing to sacrifice everything just to be able to kill the Khan, even if that means his life. Jin will write a message and sneak his way into Shimura's living quarters and hope he agrees to help us. Jin writes up a, hopefully, convincing message, and before we head out to deliver it, Yuna offers to give us a new horse suitable for a warrior. All the options are good, but in remembrance of Nobu, I chose the one that looked most like it. Our new and final horse's name is Kaze, wind. There's a wall that Jin used to climb as a kid at the back of the castle we should be able to scale without much trouble. As we approach the castle, Jin remembers a time he spent with Shimura here, where he was troubled with a comment Ryuzo told him, saying that once Shimura had his own kid, he tossed Jin immediately. Even as a kid, Ryuzo was still a harsher individual. But Shimura planned on doing no such thing because of how much he cares for Jin. He may have thought of Jin as a son much longer than we thought. We come back to Jin once night falls and we find the scalable cliffside Jin used back in the day. Since we can't kill any guards at the castle, we definitely have to make sure we remain unseen. We take the same path we took before when we initially came here with our uncle. At the castle, we see Shimura with our own eyes and climb up the pagoda while remaining hidden. We overhear Shimura speaking with some other samurai after delivering a speech. Shimura does in fact plan to eliminate the Khan before he reaches the mainland. and he also doesn't want to hear the mention of our own name, since not just the Mongols, but bandits have learned our poison and are using it on the citizens. With that horrid news out of the way, we managed to reach his quarters and deliver the message.
He's here! Guards!
Uncle, forgive me for not facing you in person. The Khan's fleet has gathered at Port Izumi. His ships are loaded with poison that will devastate the Shogun's army. But when the next storm arrives, I plan to kill the Khan and sink his fleet. I ask that you join me. I hope we can meet again. If not as father and son, then as warriors who have walked different paths. Whatever you believe I've become, I will always be your family.
Yuna was worried we wouldn't come back, but thankfully we did. There's no way to tell if Shimura is going to cooperate, but we won't sit around for an answer. The storm is upon us. By morning it'll be here, and the Hwachas are well and prepared for the siege. We did, however, pick up some deserters from Shimura's army, who will help the cause. We are ready, but our friends want to have a last-minute inspiration check from the ghost. When that's all done, we talk to Yuna again about how far we've come. Through all the bleeding and fighting, and every friend we lost along the way, we give a final thank you to Yuna for all she's done for us. Our duty won't stop here, though Yuna wants Jin to stay alive and flee with her to a safe haven. Jin knows her better than that, and has her come to her senses, and asks her to finish what we start if we fall in battle. Before we depart, they sit down and cherish more time together. At Port Izumi, the time is nigh and our siege weapons are ready to put the Mongols to shame. We plan to use the weapons to draw the Mongols into our position and ambush them. Sadly, Shimura is nowhere to be found, but this is our only chance. No more waiting. We let the flames rain down upon them and rush down the Mongols coming our way. They never knew what hit them, and our overwhelming troops wiped the floor with them. We regroup with the others, and Masako tells us about Norio's position up the hill. We move away to help him out and ensure the safety of all the warrior monks. He's safe, and Jin gives his final words of inspiration to the group. We fought all this way, killed everyone who stood in our path, and sacrificed everything, just for things to come down to this.
You are all the bravest warriors I've ever known. I hope to see you again.
They will handle the brunt of the attack, and we are sneaking in through a frozen river. In the walls of the port, we have to sneak around to find a watchtower, eliminating the Mongols who are in the way. At the top of the tower, we get a good look at the port up close.
Khotun Khan.
For Tsushima! No mercy!
Shimura pulled through, but we can't celebrate just yet. We have to reach the Khan once and for all.
All this death. Because you and your uncle would not surrender. I offered you peace, and you chose war. Now, the people of your mainland will suffer.
You will never leave this island.
Khan tries to mock Jin on his actions up to this point, but Jin's mind is clearer than ever, as is his resolve. We cut him down to his last legs, and then we watched him stumble around like an idiot. We try to finish him off, but he tosses something in our face. More of his men come up and try to defend him while he flees to the ship. These two won't stand in our way, however, when we put them down, chasing the Khan to the ship. On board, he's surrounded by his men and challenges us one last time. I'm not sure if you saw, but when we dueled, I took no damage on my first try. Not only that, this entire finale with the Khan, I took only one hit, which is crazy because I struggled my first time playing this, even though it was in a lower difficulty at the time. Regardless, you don't actually have to fight the other men here and can focus on the Khan, who doesn't have a fun time fighting us. Jin puts him out with a flaming sword as the ship goes up in flames, and we finally kill the Khan.
We will be remembered forever.
No, you will be forgotten.
This is yours.
There's a conversation between Yuna and Jin now, about a message Shimura sent, demanding to speak with Jin. Right now, even though I've been talking about it for the combined total of, 2.5 hours now? I want to directly talk about the quality of this game's story. Perfect. Simply put, perfect. From the writing, the characters, the direction, everything was executed perfectly. No one character feels completely one-sided or bland. There was never any point where I felt like the writers took a day off or wrote something generic. It feels so special. Like there's nothing like it, and that there never will be anything like it. They hit the emotional beats and action points to a T every single time. I've never cried at a video game up until what's next. Shimura wants us to meet him where we sparred with him ages ago. We get here before he does, and we decide to pass the time by playing our mother's flute on the dock. Shimura arrives in the morning, surprised that we actually came, given his opinion of us now. Jin immediately suggests teaming up to drive the remaining Mongols off Tsushima, but that isn't what Shimura is here for. He delivers news from the Shogun. Clan Sakai is no more. Disbanded, cast out. Jin is no longer a samurai. Even after all we've done for the island, in the end, it means nothing to the Shogun. Other samurai will be living in the Sakai estate. Before that, Jin wants to see his home one last time before it's taken from us. Thankfully, Shimura is willing to let us do that, and he asks for a ride with us. On the way, there's a peasant whose wagon got stuck in the mud. We dismount our horses and offer to help. He tells us he's planning to move the supplies he's hauling to Jogaku. He wants to support the ghost's so-called army. This is the first Jin is hearing about this. But this man only wants to help in any way he can. We push his wagon free and send the man on his way. We try to defend ourselves to Shimura with that statement about the so-called army on the way to the estate, but since Jin's tactics have been heard throughout the land, the citizens of Tsushima have been looking to him instead of the samurai. Jin defied Shimura, embarrassing him to the people of the island. They stop the accusations as they arrive and walk through the Sakai cemetery to pay respects to their family.
I will miss this.
So will I. The Shogun has declared you a traitor.
He ordered you to kill me.
The ghost was an outlaw. He taught our people to defy their leaders.
To defend themselves.
With poison. A gift you gave to our enemy.
I had to stop you from throwing away our people's lives.
You have no honor.
And you are a slave to it.
You are my son. Now I must continue the line of Shimura without you. I must start a new family.
And my head is the cost.
Taking it is my punishment. Our final day together. It is beautiful. It's time. Write the last words of Clan Sakai.
And Clan Shimura. Hands that shaped the world. A fate neither of us want. Will death redeem us?
Your parents will always be with you.
Yes, Uncle.
I will train you to become the strongest warrior Clan Sakai has ever known. I will raise you as my own son. ready.
I am ready.
Our last duel with our last family member. During our duel, Jin tries to sway Shimura to reconcile, but the honor Shimura is bound to is too strong. Jin manages to overcome his uncle, and Shimura falls to the ground.
Honor me with a warrior's death.
The very first time I played this game, I spared him. And while Jin looks cool as hell sparing him, this other option that I chose for my second and now third playthrough is what made me fall apart.
I will make sure you are remembered as a great warrior, a wise leader, and a father. Thank you, my son. Find me in the next life. I will. Going for walks or working or going to the gym where I flip the soundtrack on, and a lot of the times I get chills just listening to some of the music. But everything I've talked about up until this point is why I think Ghost of Tsushima is a perfect game, perfect experience. After everything is done, we find that Jin has made himself a home where we can reminisce over his adventure in this game. We can go through his life up until this point and see the man Jin really was. A friend, a student, a mentor, an inspiration, and a son. We can now talk to Yuna, who compliments our home and how well it suits us. She also apologizes for our loss of Shimura.
Even now, Jin knows that no matter how much he regretted his actions, he did what he needed. Killing the Khan, saving the island from all its troubles, and becoming a beacon of hope and inspiration for all of Tsushima and beyond. And now, the battle we fought for so long is over. But Jin's story still isn't over. There was an amazing DLC story that came out as well. We start this DLC by investigating a Mongol attack in a fishing village in Toyotama. Upon further investigation, we find a horrific sight of tortured citizens who were driven to death by murder or suicide. We then see a Mongol clad in garb unlike those on Tsushima, chanting and moving in an unfamiliar fashion. The chanting seems to be affecting the other Mongols in some way as well. These types of Mongols are called the shamans, who buff the enemy and make them harder to kill. But if we kill the shaman, they return to normal. Killing all the Mongols, Jin interrogates a surviving enemy and he tells us they heard the call of the eagle, and that this so-called eagle's army will head here from Iki Island. And if you remember from way earlier on, Iki Island is the island where Jin's father was killed. And now, Jin plans to go there and face not just the eagle, but face the trauma of reliving his father's death again. Yuna arrives to the village to talk with us before we leave. We fill her in on the situation and who we're up against. Our first concern is what the Eagle's militia can do to Tsushima. However, it will be a bit rough for Jin because the people on Iki hate the samurai for what Jin's father did to them. Due to his personal connection to the island and his father's war on it, it is our duty to stop the Eagle's threat. There's a boatman here who's willing to sail us there as soon as possible, up to where his father's old fort was built. Jin calls Kaze and we set sail for Iki. During the ride, Jin looks up at the sky and spots a horrid storm tumbling our way. A lightning bolt strikes the boat and we're separated from Kaze and the boat. Once Jin emerges on shore, he realizes he's alone at this moment. He takes in this injured state he's in and tries to find a way through the cove. We're surrounded by shipwreckage and a huge cliffside, along with large spikes that look like bones. We actually end up learning a new way to use Taka's hook, pulling wooden beams down. Now we get to have a grand look at Iki Island. Much like Tsushima, this place is gorgeous, and its environment definitely seems unique compared to Tsushima as well. Along the coast, we come up on the boat we sailed on. Kaze is nowhere to be seen, but the captain of the boat didn't make it. Luckily, there are some horse tracks nearby that may belong to Kaze. We trace them up to a villager, exclaiming his fear of the Eagle tribe and that a horse came charging through not a moment ago, trampling a snake that was endangering this man. He points out the direction it ran, and up the road, Kaze is ahead, charging through a group of the Eagle tribe. We get to catch up and reunite with our horse. Now unlocking some horse combat where we can use our resolve to rush through groups of enemies and knock them down. Before we move on with the story, I'll talk about the things you can do around the island, such as archery challenges you can take part in to gain a charm that increases your focus on slowed shots. There's a quest to unlock horse armor that boosts the damage of charge attacks. There's also a collection of animal sanctuaries scattered throughout the island. With these, you can kneel down and play your flute to the animal that matches the sanctuary. Like here, you can play it for a monkey. Afterwards, Jin will recollect memories he had with his mother way back when he was a child. Each time he learned the flute with her was a special experience that meant a lot to him. There are also cat sanctuaries, and as a cat owner myself, I certainly enjoyed it. And there are also deer sanctuaries, and deer are cool. Along with sanctuaries of his mother, there are memory locations you can play through of Jin's time spent on the island with his dad. Now, there are a whole lot of these, so I'm just going to talk about the important story beats that I think are worth talking about. The first is right after a battle, and some of Kazumasa's men are boasting about the amount of glory that he stole from them on the battlefield. Jin had killed a soldier during this and genuinely questions the morality of his actions when he fought. Kazumasa wants him to think he's a successful warrior, and what he did had to be done. Another memory is where Jin had his first drink of sake, where Kazumasa empties his feelings on how much he cared for Jin's mother. She was, more or less, his other half, and the only thing Jin has left from her is the flute, which he plays for Kazumasa to ease his mind. That one time he played was the first time he actually felt like Kazumasa's son. The next memory is where they first made a camp at the island. During this, we hear how Kazumasa talked of the islanders, saying they were akin to disgusting rats. Maybe Kazumasa wasn't as great as we were supposed to think. In a one-on-one with him, he tells us about how our armor was incorrectly set up, but he turns it into a lesson in how we learn from our mistakes, not to dwell on them. Jin, however, suspects his father wishes he hadn't followed them to the island, but since he's here now, he's expected to make him proud. The next isn't far from where Kazumasa died, where Lord Adachi walks us to our father after a competitive archery challenge. Jin asks Kazumasa why he wouldn't want to stay on the island, but Kazumasa, he has his connections to Omi village. He can't abandon it. Jin, though, thought of Iki as a nice home once, but not after how he felt during battle. Kazumasa tells us what it is to be a Sakai, about how we're stronger than mountains. Once he's on the verge of telling us how he really feels about the time we spent together, he's cut off and guided away. Jin then wishes he could have heard how Kazumasa felt about him before he died. Lastly is the day he departed Iki Island. Before he left, he played some music in memory of his father. Before leaving for the mainland, he shares his feelings with Lord Adachi about how he feels guilty for not saving his father. But Clan Sakai still exists, well, not after the main story, and he will carry his father's legacy. After this, Jin plays some music for a nearby deer. With all the memories Jin had with his father, he doesn't need to run from them anymore. Now he can understand who Kazumasa was as a father, maybe not as a warlord. Kazumasa was a strong man who stood tall and who cared deeply for his family. Lastly, on Iki, there are 4 special puzzles we can find on the island to unlock armor variants that are references to other PlayStation exclusive games, with a little jingle that are also from those games respectively, like a variant of Tadayori's armor through an archery puzzle, which gives us a Horizon Zero Dawn coloration, a God of War Kratos skin on the Sakai clan armor, a Ghost armor version with the Shadow of the Colossus skin, and, my personal favorite, a Bloodborne coloration on the Kensei armor. Also, spoilers on what my next video is gonna be. Anyways, back to the main game. We try to go into Fort Sakai head on, but we're forced into a scripted death, where we're knocked out and dragged away.
You. Are you the eagle? The scouts you sent to Tsushima. I killed them. Khotun Khan is dead. We defeated his army on Tsushima. Tomorrow, 1,000 samurai will join me on the shores of Iki. Surrender, and we will spare you.
Your journey was hard. Drink.
There are easier ways to kill me.
I do not harm my guests.
What did you give me?
My sacred medicine. Save your strength. This is the easy part.
You won't break me.
You were broken long ago. I release your spirit to travel the underworld. face the judgment of your ancestors.
Whatever she fed us seemed to make Jin's thoughts of his father worsen. When he finally comes to, we can hear a very faint voice from Yuna, who seemed to have followed us to the island. Even though we told her not to come, she's here now and we need to leave to find a healer to get rid of the poison. Yuna asks when the other samurai will arrive, but other than her, we told nobody. We reach a wooden walkway and peer down below to see none other than Kazumasa, asking why Jin never saved him, berating him for not avenging us the moment he was killed. Then, Yuna transforms into the eagle, which explains her strange questioning she gave us. The eagle was getting information out of us, and now she knows we're Jin Sakai. She wants to use us with her poison to kill the people of Iki. Jin rolls off the edge and falls under a deeper trance, becoming a younger version of himself. Hearing Kazumasa's voice in a scary-looking canyon, we try to run through and escape the hallucinations. But Kazumasa's voice rings louder, commenting about Jin in a demeaning way, like saying how Jin is no fighter, how he tarnishes the Sakai clan, or that he will be the downfall of the clan. Just as we reach a light at the end of the tunnel, we hear those words again. The very words that the man who killed Kazumasa said right before he killed him, seeing a distorted version of his death alongside it. Then, a man standing before us asks us if we're alright, and takes us to a camp for safety. After we wake up, Jin gets a little startled since this island hasn't exactly been nice to him since we arrived. This guy, named Tenzo, found out we're not just from Tsushima, but that we are samurai and asked us why we of all people would come here. We're just here to help though. Jin tells Tenzo of how he was forced to drink the eagle's poison, and he's shocked that not only are we alive, but we're able to keep up a conversation. Others who have taken it haven't been so lucky. Tenzo, unfortunately, doesn't know if there's any known time limit for it wearing off, so we'll have to deal with it until then. In the meantime, we offer to help wipe out the eagle tribe from the island. Because he's a Sakai, Jin tells Tenzo his name is Jin from Yarikawa as a disguise. He reluctantly agrees and tells us where to meet him next, so we can talk to his boss. On the way, we learn of someone else on this island under the name of the Ghost. We try to tell these villagers we're the Ghost and whatever stories they told are wrong, but they assure us they're true and point us to his camp. This is the only side quest stuff I'll be covering in this section, but don't worry, it isn't that long. The Ghost camp has an empty sake bottle and a still warm campfire. We decide to sit around and wait until we catch sight of him. We do spot a few bandits in the distance and a man sneaking up on them. Maybe this ghost we're looking for. All he does is steal more sake and blow up some barrels before running away. We track him down and question him, finding out that he owes this raider a fortune. We shoo the raider away though and confront him directly about being the ghost. But this man is actually the ghost's sidekick? Apparently the real ghost has been captured. He points out his location and we depart to question the ghost of Iki. We kill the Mongols outside and get inside the house to find this imposter. And of all the people we could find in here, of course it's Kenji! Of course we should have known better. But hey, I ain't complaining. Apparently, he's on Iki because there's a smuggler fixing a ship to the mainland. The reason he's tied up with a life in danger, again, is because he tried to sneak aboard that very ship, which the smuggler didn't like. I mean, duh, right? He also tried to rob them by selling them sour sake. The reason he was under the ghost's name was so he might be able to cheat his way into paying for the ride up to the mainland. Jin attempts to leave him to clean up his own mess, but Kenji influences him into helping him anyways. We cut him loose and took him from the house. We ask him about that unpaid intern from earlier named Fugu, who is a fisherman. Kenji wants help finding him, and in return, he'll drop the ghost act. He takes us to the agreed meeting place, and we get a more direct one-on-one with Fugu. Fugu is ecstatic Kenji is alive and cheers for the ghost, to which Kenji tells him that Jin is the real ghost. He reluctantly tells us that a man named the Viper has a message for the ghost, but we all know it's for Kenji. The Viper is also the smuggler Kenji tried to bypass to get onto the boat. Jin agrees to help, but only because the Viper has been trouble for the samurai for years. We ride with Kenji to the Viper's den and request we speak to him. Jin does most of the talking to try and ease Kenji's future punishment, however the Viper doesn't want to negotiate due to how badly Kenji messed up. Jin brings up the bounty on the Viper's head and hopes he lowers Kenji's payment so Kenji doesn't die in the process before his debt is paid. The Viper agrees only if we get a hold of some sea charts to ensure these boats are able to reach the mainland safely. The deal is set and we depart to retrieve the charts. The charts were located at a Mongol camp that we nab pretty easily, and then we ride back to the Viper without much trouble. He thanks us for our endeavors and tells us how there is only one seat left in the boat. Thankfully, Kenji is just one man. Kenji tries to offer to put Jin in a sake barrel to sneak him on board too, but with all the barrels he's been in, he's had enough. We promise to celebrate with sake when the war is over and say goodbye to Kenji.
Fuga! Forget something, Master?
Yeah, my common sense. Take my seat on the ship. You earned it.
But, Master...
Get moving before I change my mind.
I didn't think you had it in you.
I'll scrape by. Fugu, I didn't like his chances. It's better this way. Besides, you didn't think you'd get rid of me that easily, did you?
I'm not that lucky.
This calls for a drink.
To the ghost of Iki.
To forgetting all about him.
Our boy finally became a true hero. Now then, without any more derailments, back to the main story. Finding Tenzo near the coast, he's found a few of his friends that died from the Eagle's tribe. They need to be buried, so Jin offers to help in doing so. When finished, Tenzo delivers a final prayer. Jin asks if he can still join Tenzo's crew to fight the Eagle. Even though the poison is still affecting him, it hasn't outright slowed us down yet. So Tenzo agrees, for now. They have a long run ahead of them, so they sneak in some small talk. Tenzo tells us to watch ourselves, since the raiders don't feel the same towards the samurai ever since the Sakai invasion, or so they call it. They also refer to Kazumasa as the Butcher of Iki. The entrance to the hideout is being watched by Mongols, so we kill them and see that the entrance is blocked off. So, we'll need to take a cliffside route by the sea. On the way, Jin hears the Eagle's voice in his head, incriminating Tenzo and trying to turn Jin against him. He fights it off but puts Tenzo on edge, rightfully so. On the cliffside path, we see one of the raiders' ships being shot at by the Eagle's warship. But at the gate, Tenzo reminds us that we need to keep our heads down and don't try anything stupid. Inside, their leader, Fune, calls for Tenzo to go up and talk to her. She asks why the hell he would bring a samurai to her cove, but she and her raiders need fighters, a lot of them, so the more metal, the merrier. Since Jin has personal problems with the Eagle tribe on Tsushima, he would love to help the cause. Tenzo further persuades her by telling her that Jin can either help or die trying, which would kill another samurai, and that is a good thing for Fune. This thankfully works, and our goal is to take out the warship that we saw a few moments ago. Jin suggests we destroy the boat from the inside. Tenzo actually has an idea for this too. There's a supply boat we can use that the warship takes from regularly, which we can use to sneak aboard. Tenzo is in charge for this mission, and we will be needed at the northeast coast for this. Before this mission starts, I forgot to record the first encounter with it, but all you need to know is that Tenzo killed an Eagle tribe member after interrogating him. Regardless, we're now at the inlet and sneak down the cliffside to get the jump on the patrol at the beach. Before we can use the fog to row the boats quietly to the ship, the fog lifts and the ships fire at us. We plan to go around and find a way in. During this, the poison rings in our head again, telling Jin that the raiders know he's a Sakai. He shakes it off again and finds a way to get into the Mongols' territory. They didn't know what hit them before they were already hit, and the raiders join us on the boat. Jin asks about Tenzo's attitude he's had since we walked up on him interrogating that Mongol, but he brushes it aside and insists we move on. They prepare to set sail for the boat and find hiding places for all the raiders before we head out. The plan is set in stone, and we sail out of the cove into the warship, waiting for the Eagle tribe to board it. When we're ready, we attack, clearing the warship of Mongols. And just for extra measure, we ignite the explosives on board. We then escape back to the supply ship and watch as the warship goes up in flames. This was a success for the raiders, and we sail back to Fune's refuge to celebrate. At the refuge, Tenzo says that Fune will kill the both of them. Jin is taken aback by this. Then Tenzo further explains by revealing he knows Jin is a Sakai. He then threatens to reveal his identity to the refuge and get Jin killed. Jin knows that this is just a ploy the Eagle is trying to pull to get all her enemies killed at once. And Jin also pieces together that the Mongol we saw him interrogate told him who Jin really was. Tenzo then gives us some insight on his life before this place went to shit. He wasn't just married, but he was expecting, but neither survived childbirth. Fune had helped him bury them. Iki is his home. This is what matters most to him. The point is that he brought the child of the butcher of Iki here. This could practically be treason. Jin knows what's at stake, and they agree to keep it between them for the greater good. They continue to stand together. Tenzo will tell Fune of our good work and will continue with our goal. They both enforce the importance of watching their words, and then we depart. When we talk to Fune, she reluctantly thanks us for our efforts. She can now tread these waters safely. We still have to focus our efforts on facing the Eagle's poison, and we can do it with Fune and her raiders. Apparently, the Eagle and her main force left Fort Sakai a few hours ago. This is a perfect chance to infiltrate it and take the fort for ourselves to free them. Inside, there are a handful of Fune's men being tortured. So this is also a rescue mission. So we sneak up to Fort Sakai and take out the beginning force, freeing the captives mining rocks up front. One of the raiders tells us that the fort has one of the Eagle's commanders in charge, up at the top of this place. When we go through the first gate, the poison strikes again, with that same statement ringing in Jin's head, watching Kazumasa die. We shake it off once again and burst through the fort, freeing any raider stuck in a cage. At the very top of the camp, we feel the Eagle's poison again, with a vision of Kazumasa surrounded by strung-up raiders, even though the real person we see is the commander, Nubish. I hope I said that right. He tells Jin that the transformation has already begun, a transformation to turn Jin into an Eagle Tribe shaman. But Jin knows the truth of her supposed medicine and takes out the commander. Although before we take him out, he backs away and runs into the nearby tower. At the top, we confront him one last time, and he tries to further his point of where the poison will lead us. Jin kills him, throws him off the tower, and sets the fort aflame. As a reward for freeing the raiders in the fort, not only do we get his thanks, but this raider also gives us saddlebags to put on our horse for extra storage space for the items we pick up. Fune thanks us once again for our help with saving her men. She tells us that her scouts intercepted a message directed from the Eagle. She's of course looking to capture Jin, and now is when Jin tells Fune about his captive experience with the Eagle. Tenzo was able to find one of her patrols, and now they're surrounding the cliffside to the refuge. This is her payback for what we've done to her commander and warship. So the plan is to draw them away from here and fight them in an ambush at Kirafure village. Fune orders Tenzo to gather the men and will march to fight the good fight. This is the first time we'll be fighting alongside Fune as well. Fune tells us that the people of Kirafure no longer live here because of our father, because it's been destroyed by him. Throughout this section, the Eagle's poison will downplay us and tell us the slaughter was our fault. At the watchtower, we plan out our strategy on where everyone will be placed. Ahead of us is an open spot where we get another vision from the Eagle, showing that this is where our father's army killed not just raiders, but innocent villagers. Jin mutters to himself, saying that this is where they would flee, before correcting himself and covering up the Eagle's influence by saying, "We will flee there if we need to." We ride out to our meeting place with Tenzo, where he asks about our slip-up a moment ago. Tenzo points out that Jin was here when Kazumasa destroyed Iki, and Jin tries to defend his father. Tenzo, however, saw the absolute demolition that Kazumasa delivered to Iki firsthand. Iki's villagers had only fought back against the samurai in self-defense, in any way they could. He had a friend who lived in this village, who died because of the samurai, but he couldn't find his head. It was detached completely from his body, buried in pounds of mud. Jin can't relate to this kind of pain Tenzo felt. He can't bear to realize how many men his own father wrongfully killed, but he did have the misfortune of watching him die in front of him. The guilt of not saving him still eats away at him. Just then, the signal to attack the Mongols go off, and we have to act now, since this is our best chance to minimize the enemy. With Tenzo and Fune, we ride and cut down the enemy on horseback. We need to get past these Mongols to get to the ambush spot to blow up the upcoming convoy. Jin then sees another of the eagle's poisonous visions, making us watch as our father's army brutally kills the innocent. When we break out, more signals are fired out in the distance. The Eagle Tribe managed to capture the lookouts. Killing the captors, we managed to rescue the lookouts. Then we see as the rest of our force is being chased by more of the Eagle Tribe. We're spread thin and outnumbered, but we have horses and Jin Sakai, so we keep after them and finally put this force down and out for good.
Give chase! Cut them down!
May your death benefit all beings. Jin?
May your death benefit all beings. I've heard that before. From my father's killer.
You're hearing things. It's the eagle's poison.
Say the prayer for yourself before I end your life.
Do it. On this blood-soaked ground, where your father massacred hundreds.
He was trying to save lives. You knew who I was. What you did to my father. You lied to my face.
You lied to yourself. Your father was my enemy, not you.
How did someone so worthless defeat Kazumasa Sakai?
I don't know. Luck! He slaughtered dozens of us before we brought him down. Broke his leg, I think. All I did was finish the job. Get on with it, samurai!
Not yet. You killed my father by luring us into an ambush at Senjo Gorge. That's how we're going to kill the eagle.
We need more than the two of us.
Talk to Fune, and meet me near the canyons.
We can't hide who you are anymore. But if I tell Fune...
Do it. Tell her I'm Jin Sakai. She knows I fight for Iki. My actions prove it. Tell her I am not my father. If I was, you would be dead.
Genuinely an insane twist. Even though he killed our father, we still need to let him live and work together to fight the eagle. When we regroup with Fune and Tenzo later on, Fune has been filled in by Tenzo on who we really are. But we won't be letting that difference get in our way, since the eagle's demise is at hand. But first, we need to locate her. We'll find a way to draw her into Senjo Gorge and corner her there, along with the rest of the tribe. Fune is already a step ahead of us and is already having her men comb every inch of the island. Fune will be heading to Senjo Gorge in the meantime, and will help the scouts find the eagle. After resting till night, we get on horseback and ride to the nearest scouts. The raider tells us that the Mongols are searching for us, so we plan to find them first. Just then, Jin spots the eagle riding towards them. Tenzo and the raider can't see her, but we have to move in to fight. In our duel with the eagle, the poison kicks in again, and she tries to turn us. When we snap out of it, she disappears. Jin completely imagined her being there. The poison is getting worse. When these Mongols are wiped out, the poison speaks to us again, taunting Jin, asking him where the eagle could possibly be in all of the island. Senjo Gorge. She's already there, and is tempting us to go there. We have to go there regardless to help out Fune and the rest of the raiders anyways, so what's the harm? After the rest of the tribe are killed, Fune tells us that they pretty much ambushed the ambush before they could ambush them. Fune confirms that the eagle is here, deeper in the gorge, so deeper in the gorge we go. Eventually, the poison hits again and makes Jin second guess the existence of this very battle. And up ahead is another fake fight with the eagle we are forced to combat until we snap out of it again. The poison is at its worst right now, and all we can hope is that we get through alive. Finally, all the eagle tribe is gone from the gorge, and the poison tells Jin that he knows exactly where she is, the very same grounds where his father died. Jin and Tenzo will go in alone, and as soon as we reach the alcove where Kazumasa died, we confront the eagle once and for all. The place where Jin and Tenzo originally crossed paths years ago, and the place where Jin's path towards understanding his father truly began. The eagle tries to tell us that the poison led us here entirely to become her puppet shaman. While it did lead us here, it wasn't for any reason she truly wanted. She wants our spirit to soar in the eternal blue sky. With enough of her bullshit, Jin faces the eagle, and Tenzo faces the rest. The duel functions like any other at first, with her berating us and trying to flip us against our comrades. Then, the poison strikes again. Weakening Jin, we try to hold our own, but she buffers us to the ground.
Father.
Jin! Help me! Jin. We should have died here together. Like warriors.
I'm sorry I failed you, Father.
Not me. Our clan. The Sakai name is tarnished.
The people here accuse us of terrible things.
Sometimes, what is necessary is also terrible. The actions I took were not easy. But they needed to be done.
You did what was needed on the battlefield. Not at home. I needed a father.
When we lost your mother, I was left with a son I didn't know how to help. So, I raised a samurai. It's time, Jin. Do what is necessary. Rid our clan of shame and defeat. Avenge me. Kill him, you coward!
No. I will never be like you. The way you lived
was not my choice. And your death was not my fault.
Jin successfully breaks from the poison one last time. And for good. Battling the eagle one-on-one with no more tricks, and saving Iki from all her torment.
One day, you will face the judgment of your ancestors. One day.
May your death benefit all beings.
Now's your chance.
Are you alright?
I'll live. What about you? Still hearing her?
No.
I'm sorry, Jin.
So am I.
Sounds like a celebration. I better check on Pune. Tell her the good news.
Go on. I'll join you later.
Don't wait too long, Jin.
The finale of this DLC is amazing. Using the cinematic parallel of Jin using the very same line that tormented him his entire life against someone endangering the very person who used it against his father. I feel like I can't glaze this game enough, but I think I've said my final piece. While I don't think the DLC story is as good as the main story, it's still fantastic and a perfect wrap-up to Jin as a person and as a character. I obviously couldn't fit in every single side quest or line of dialogue or interaction that resides in this game. There was a lot of intercut dialogue in many of the missions that I just couldn't put in because, well, to be honest, I, as a person, can't relay all the information in the game. Not as perfectly as how the game does it itself. And that's why I think Ghost of Tsushima is just a game that you should experience. And that it's a better experience playing it by yourself. And not just having some guy on the internet talking to you about it. But I did try and do my best to portray as much as I could and construct a good argument as to why I think Ghost of Tsushima is genuinely amazing. And with that, this video, all parts concluded, is over. Also, I won't be talking about the Legends Mode DLC because I do not like it. Sorry, Legends fans. But please, be sure to like this video, comment if you liked it, or if you have constructive criticism, and subscribe. If I could get to, I don't know, 100 subscribers by New Year's, then I'll do a backflip, or die trying. Not really, but I'll do something big. Have a good day, evening, or night, wherever you are, and I hope you enjoyed the video.